Friend, get ready for a great episode today. Today, I'm walking you through all things Ultra 2, the whitening accelerator with patent ultrasonic technology that is created and manufactured by Beyond International. Today on the show, I got to sit down with Samuel. We get to call him Sam or Sammy and go over exactly what the Ultra 2 Whitening Accelerator is. Honestly, any question you have about this accelerator is answered today. This accelerator is becoming more and more popular in the North American market, and it's catching a lot of eyes because it looks different. It is bringing a different piece of technology to the LED space that we haven't seen before. And it also has a really unique attachment style that is fixing a lot of problems that us as whitening providers are struggling with right now. For example, our arm reach or our arch reach, when we are doing our chairside whitening services, can be very challenging with the typical LED lights in the market. So without further ado, get ready for a great chat in Sugar Land, Texas with COO of Beyond International, Samuel Brooks. Let's get on with the show. If you are a teeth whitening or tooth gem specialist, this is the podcast for you. My name's Rach, and I am the industry leader of all things teeth entrepreneurship. Together, let's learn from real-life experiences to must-have brands on how to take your business to the next level and leave that 9-to-5. Friend, welcome to Whitening Wednesday, and I'm so glad you are here. Let's build a safe industry together. One holdup before we get on with the show is we need to think about our sponsor today and thank them. Our sponsor of this episode of the Whitening Wednesday podcast is Fern Whitening Supplies. If you are a Canadian teeth whitening provider, then Fern is your answer for everything. Okay, from your chairside supplies to also your take-home supplies, because remember, we want our patients to also be whitening at home. Check out Fern today and use code WW10 at checkout. And don't forget, Fern is an authorized distributing partner with Beyond International. That means if you're a Canadian, you can purchase the Ultra 2 Accelerator with Fern Whitening Supplies. Happy Whitening Wednesday. Today on the show, we have Sam, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Beyond International. Now, I know a lot of you listeners have been following Beyond and have started to think, is the Ultra 2 for me? And I'm so excited to chat with Sam today to get all the juicy details on what the Ultra 2 is, why you need it, and why was it created? So Sam, let's dive in. First off, how did you get involved with Beyond?
Oh, thank you very much for the invitation first. Yes, so I got involved with Beyond. I had just finished working in Japan. I was back in the United States. And one of my colleagues from Japan, he turned me on to this idea of working with this different company. I had in a previous career worked with another dental company. And then, so from there, he tasked me to move our company and Beyond from California to Texas. So one of my first roles was actually moving our warehousing completely over to, Houston, Texas, which is where I am now. So so it's been a long trip. It's been a fun one.
That's a big project off of the hop, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
That is so interesting. So tell us, Beyond has a variety of amazing products. And one of the standout products for sure would be the Pulse Light, which has a lot of dental advisory awards. Like, it's a big deal. So what made Beyond think to bring the Ultra 2 to the market? Was it that they just wanted Obviously there are a lot of different technology aspects to the light, but was that they just thought that there needed to be a different way to speed up sessions, or what made you think to even create the Ultra when you already had such a great product with the Polis?
Very good question. Yes. So our Polis series of accelerators, we've had the top whitening position as the top whitening system in office through the dental advisor since 2011 to current. So
Amazing.
it's been a streak, and it's been a good streak for us. But at the same time, we were listening to our dentists, and some of our dentists were asking us if we consider another system with a lower price point that will allow them to, target more offices. Because with our Polis system, we consider it more of like a high volume, heavy hitter whitening accelerator.
Mhm.
So it's made to be set up to have a dedicated space for teeth whitening. And then these people are whitening your teeth all day long. And it's been a very good system for that. But we did have dentists that were looking for something with a smaller footprint that was a little bit more mobile, easier to move around. And so, because of this, we started studying it further and further. We realized that we could take certain aspects of the Polis and bring it into a smaller system. So, with the Polis, we use a combination halogen LED. And the halogen is great, but with the halogen, the light source is so powerful that you need a filtration system to block out all the UV and the infrared, and it takes up space. So we realized that if we were able to focus more on the LED portion, you would not have the same issues with the ultraviolet, and it could also bring down, our costs for production. So this is how we started developing the original Beyond II system. So the Beyond II system was just LED. And then we did some further research, and we realized that if we introduce ultrasonic technology to this LED system, it would help to more comprehensively target the gel into the enamel. And so we actually had some studies done on that, and it was presented at the 2019 IADR. And based on that study, and that was using our whitening gel as well as the accelerator. And based on that study, we actually had a patent made for this. So we introduced this technology into the Beyond II Ultra as well as the Polis Ultra systems. So now we have two different systems that utilize the ultrasound. And for the Beyond II Ultra, it's been a very good splash for us. People really like the system.
Oh, and it's first off so unique, right? It's bringing something completely different to the market. As you mentioned, any providers that are doing mobile, it's very flexible to bring to either different operatories throughout the office, or if you are, say, doing pop-up events, etc.
Yes.
And of course, the other super handy thing is that you can connect two of those LED light attachments and
Mhm.
whiten two people at the same time. Like
Yes.
that's huge.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we sell to over 130 countries, so we hear lots of feedback from different markets, and we do have markets that do more of the mobile teeth whitening, as you say. We have other markets where they just bring it to an operatory and they just leave it there for a day, and then they take it out again. They schedule it somewhere else. So yeah, it's very, very highly mobile, and we've learned a lot from that. We've also learned, like, one of the advantages, one of the things I like about the Beyond II Ultra, to be honest with you, is when you're putting that system into the mouth with our cheek retractor, it follows your arch throughout. That was something that we had seen with our previous system. It was standalone, so it would follow you, but you would have to manually adjust it as the patient would shift in their chair. But the nice thing about the Beyond II system is that you don't have to worry about that aspect at all.
Yes, that is huge because especially, if we have those patients that are scrolling on TikTok or doing some Snapchat, it's like they're moving their head. And
Yes.
all of us providers have been there where it's like, just stay under the lights. So,
We saw we saw a side effect of that as well at the beginning of it. Because of course we've been at it since 2003, so we've seen it all. Before social media, we would have patients sit in the position, and because the treatment was so comfortable to them, they would just fall asleep. So we'd have to follow it down as they were falling asleep. So, but like I said before, the Beyond II Ultra fixes that altogether.
that is such a good point. And that's so true. If you're doing a little drift off, you are going to kind of move a little bit.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that is so interesting. I didn't realize that Beyond has been at this since roughly 2003. I mean, you are a dinosaur in the market. Like you've really started this market for sure. So you've seen all the different trends. So would you say that, mind you, as you mentioned, you're in multiple different countries, but would you really notice that, especially the North American market, like whitening is becoming a very popular service.
Very much so, yes. In the United States, North America especially, I see these two different markets. It's a combination market. You have dental, you also have these spa salons. You have so many different options when it comes to teeth whitening here. So because of that, we actually created different set of whitening products to choose from for this. So for example, for dental, we might use something like our Max 5 kit, which utilizes a 35% hydrogen peroxide. But at the same time, for a spa salon, we would not use something that strong because it requires a gingival barrier. So we created the Osmo kit, which uses a 6%. And we just recently launched a 12% version of that Osmo kit as well. So the nice thing about our company is that because we're primarily focused on teeth whitening, we can shift according to what the market demands.
Exactly. And since it's such like a wild, wild west market, you really can be available to both sectors, right? Because
Yes.
there are different options, as you've mentioned.
Mm,
So I love that you mentioned that the different industries, because we totally believe that, these different industries, they're here to stay. They've both got their hands in the product. So as long as they're doing it safe and effectively, we wish
yeah.
them nothing but the best. So let's talk about with this unregulated industry, the main thing that we see the most of is let's call out, let's say, like the big distributors like Amazon. They
Mm,
have these low level LED lights that are typically under 6,000 output, usually
mm,
around like that 2,500 output intensity.
mm,
Now, a lot of providers, whether it's the dental office or outside of the dental office, are picking up these lights because they're very cost effective. And, when you're first getting started, maybe you are trying to budget. So,
mm,
talk to us about going from that low of an intensity up to say, the ultra that's a 26,000 plus
mm.
intensity. What would be the biggest benefit to make that commitment and budget higher right off the hop? Is it more or less it's going to get your time down? Is that the biggest piece of the puzzle that would be the most helpful to budget that quickly? And then, of course, as we talked about, the comfort with the retractors, but then also getting it to stay as close to the arch as possible. But would you say,
Yes.
other than that, it's most likely the time difference?
Yes, I would say so. If you have a stronger light source, just by simple science, you can really shorten the time frame when it comes to teeth whitening itself. And then, of course, you have to take into account what kind of gels, what kind of whitening gels you're using. For our part, we developed our whitening gels before we developed our accelerators. So the accelerators were designed to specifically work really, really well with our whitening gels. So that being said, when it comes to other LED units, I don't know them so well because we're primarily focused on what we're doing. And we also look at it from the perspective of a dental background. So we started in dentistry. So we're always focused on the safety and the comfort when it comes to teeth whitening. So we took this mentality and carried it into spa salons as well. So we knew when we first came into it, we had to really work on the educational aspect of teaching people how to use the system safely, how to make sure everyone is happy at the end of the experience.
Absolutely. And another thing that, as you've mentioned, since you started in that dental community, as we know, as they should, dentists love clinical studies, love all the background information, etc. So tell us if there are some concern in some cited research studies about pulpal inflammation and
Mhm.
over intensity from heat from light, say, let's say, like with just a basic curing light. Is there any notes or through the many, many years that the team at Beyond has been doing this on any concern on pulpal inflammation or, over dehydrating during a session with these high intensity lights? Or is that why those shorter time frames are so important to not overexpand those times?
Yes, yeah, you want to mitigate that factor as much as possible. So this is why we focus primarily more towards the light acceleration rather than heat. So using this, that's allowed us to really to bring the time frames down and to mitigate that effect. We've done studies in both directions. So we've done studies to show the safety of it as well as the efficacy. So at the very beginning, we noticed that when people would get their teeth whitened, you would see like kind of a chalky finish at the end of the teeth whitening. So we focused on that to make sure that what would come out at the end of our session would be more of a shiny. So we would have people, we would do trade shows and give demonstrations during the trade shows. And at the end of the session, someone would just go, "It's like I just had a cleaning, just shiny. It would just feel shiny, feel squeaky on the teeth." So these were all factors we considered. So we were very, very intentional about the development of our whitening gels, as well to make sure the accelerators are assisting with the whitening and to keep it as safe as possible.
That's huge. I mean, Sam, we're going to be best friends because I love chatting about how, unfortunately, really common in the whitening industry, over dehydration is typically the push because thirsty teeth look super white, right? So that's incredible that you've even nailed right specifically like that chalky white look because as we know that chalky white look, give it about 48 hours to remineralize and your patient's going to be texting you saying, well, what happened? Where'd it go?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So that is so, so great to hear. So tell us, what are some things that you might want to throw out? I mean, I feel like we've covered so much, but the ultrasonic is huge. That technology obviously is a game changer. The
Mhm.
specific retractors that are keeping the arch snug and secure. So you're definitely even contacting, say, those premolars or that first set of molars, depending on the
Mhm.
smile line. That's massive as well. And of course, we've chatted about how you can do two patients at once if you want to, if you have that extra light attachment. So, the one thing we haven't touched on yet, which is such a cool idea, who thought of putting the air purification into the system?
That's a great question. This, so with our systems, it's kind of interesting, like with Polis, because we kept winning the top whitening system. So we're thinking to ourselves, okay, how can we value add to this situation? So we started, just looking back into different opportunities we'd see around the world, and we noticed that they started introducing air ionizers to just the general space. And we realized that could be something useful to those offices that don't yet have this. So we just decided to have it in there already set up and ready to go. So it's just an additional value add to them, like almost of no cost because we kept the cost the same between the original system and newer systems as we started adding more bells and whistles to it. So same thing, we added the air ionizer to the Beyond II Ultra, and that's turned out quite well for us as well. So we have had no complaints about air ionizers.
I can imagine, especially, I'm not sure what it was like in the States, but here in
Mhm.
Canada during COVID, every dental operatory had to have an air purification system in their
Mhm.
room to do any aerosol procedures. So, I mean, a lot have stuck around with keeping them in there because, I
Mhm.
mean, why
Mhm.
not? Absolutely. But that is such a great added benefit. And I love that you and the team thought to do that because, I mean, why not? The more safety features that you can add
Yes.
onto a unit when you are intraoral. We know that the intraoral cavity is, one of the dirtiest areas on the body, right? All the bacteria. Why not try to keep you and your patients even safer, right? So,
Yes. Absolutely.
such an amazing idea. So, from there, the one thing I feel like we haven't really chatted about was like, where is Beyond? It's in Texas, right?
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely. So we are based in Sugarland, Texas. We call it the sweetest city on earth. So we're the only Sugarland in all of America. So yes, so Sugarland, Texas is a suburb, though we don't consider it that, of Houston. So we're maybe 20 minutes from downtown Houston. So it's a great area. We're living here. One of the nice things about Sugarland is it's the most culturally diverse area in America, even more than like San Francisco. So you see people from all over the world living here. So it's a great mix of people.
That's incredible. So I bet the team is probably a great mix too, with so many different backgrounds and
Mm.
ideas. And I bet that's such a great way to jump ahead in these different models because I'm sure everyone has different inputs that have helped create the success of
It's,
Beyond.
it's been very, very useful. You're absolutely right on that. And we love having diverse backgrounds when it comes to bringing people into the team. Yes.
Oh,
I remember I was just recently hiring someone. I told him, I was like, I think you're the first person in quite a long time that only speaks one language here. Like we're all over the place. So it's been,
that's
yeah, it's definitely been a
incredible.
bonus for us.
Oh, so good. Now, I know when I've chatted with Karen in the past, I mean, Karen's walked us through the facilities. It's beautiful, so many different great pieces. We were able to see the actual areas where the ultras get put together, etc. Is there anything else that you can think of that you feel like our audience would really love to touch on when it comes to the Ultra 2?
We've already mentioned this before. What I really like about the Ultra 2 compared to our previous accelerators is that it's very intuitive, it's very easy to use, very mobile. And having that advantage of the simultaneous teeth whitening is more advantageous than you might think. Because sometimes you might have a person coming in that wants to do a full, 3 session of teeth whitening. Sometimes you might have a person coming in just for touch up. So for a situation like that, you can accommodate both people at the same time. And the Beyond II Ultra has been super useful even for the touch ups. We've had some of our dentists use them solely for touch ups just because it's a time saver for them. When they use something like our Osmo gels that don't require any gingival barrier, it saves a lot on the prep time and session time. So it's been just a win-win for everyone involved.
And another thing we should highlight is, some listeners might be thinking like, "Ooh, you can put people side by side." I mean, it might not be as common in some areas, those open bay concept operatories, but it might be more popular in others. But we should touch on is that cord for the LED lights is actually quite long.
Yes. Yeah. It's a 2-meter cord. Yes. So literally you could go in both directions and cover like a whole room. You could have some serious separation there. So yeah, that's not so much of an issue.
Yeah, that's huge. And even if you wanted to, go the extra step, I'm sure depending on how the office is laid out, you could pop a little hole in the wall and just feed it all the way through if you needed to, like lots of different ways to do that. So that was such a good idea. Now, do you feel like when it comes to your session times, so again, as you've mentioned, ideally you're recommending to use the Beyond gels with the Beyond accelerator for the actual timeframes that you recommend. But I know chatting with the team, they have said if you really have found a different gel that you love, you can use the accelerator with other gels. It's just it's going to be kind of up to you to navigate what those timeframes come to. So if your team recommends up to 3 rounds of 10 minutes with your different gels, can you see there being any issues with going over 3 rounds of 10 with that extra intensity? Or do you feel comfortable with doing more than 3 rounds if the technician feels like it's required?
That's a good question. And again, I have to pull on my experience with different markets. So here in the United States, we would generally suggest 3 sessions. And again, using Beyond Gels, 3 sessions of 10 minutes. But you can extend that as much as the maximum time that we would allow for anyone to use whitening gel would be 20 minutes. And the reason for that is very simple in that the whitening gel is breaking down as you're using it. So at 20 minutes, there's no more use to it. So the efficacy has died. So we don't suggest that for everyone. It's really kind of up to the dental hygienist or dentist to, evaluate the teeth and say, okay, these are strong, healthy teeth. We could extend it if we really want to. One of my favorite dentists, he told me something kind of funny a few years back. He says, I like to tell my patients, okay, now do you want your teeth white or do you want them really white? If you want them really white, then you might have a little sensitivity. And that's the way he explained it to them. So for us, we don't like the sensitivity. So we focus more on the shorter sessions because we still see very good results with that. But that being said, like our Middle Eastern clients, they subscribe to this idea that, pain is good. And they will go all out. They will do multiple sessions, like they will do 4 sessions. I was in Dubai in February, and I was actually arguing with a dentist because he was telling me, he says, yes, I do 4 sessions because I want the best. I was like, but it's too much. There's no need to go that far along. You hit a certain threshold or you just don't see any improvement after that. So just, be nice to your patient. Just let them enjoy the results and go home.
No pain, no gain, like right there, right? That's too funny. And of course, we need to remember, regardless if it's a hydrogen or a carbamide, there's always post-chair breakdown time, right? Like those peroxides are still breaking down for 3 to 6 plus hours. So yes, always to remember that ideally, if you stick with your recommended rounds, the patient still should continue to settle and brighten, right? So we need to remind our patients that Instagram filter of those bleach white right after isn't necessarily what you're looking for. So that's huge. Now, let's talk about the intensity levels. So you have a low and a high. Is there also a medium as well?
Yes, there is. Yes.
So is this kind of back to depending on the market, or is there a preferred to start with and then try? I know you had mentioned in all of the different pamphlets that the tetracycline staining is ideally, if you're noticing that with your patient, high is the way to go. Is there kind of a recommendation on what you prefer to stay with, or is it really a patient by patient case?
Okay. So I have two answers on that one. By and large, for the average patient, of course, every patient has their own issues. But for a patient that has strong, healthy teeth, we would just suggest the high setting. That should be perfectly fine for them. If you have patients that have cracks in their enamel, if you notice that their teeth, grind at night, so teeth grinding, things like this, all of these will be sensitivity factors. So you have to be cognizant of it going into the session. You have to let the patient know ahead of time, okay, I see cracks in your enamel. So what we're going to do is we're going to slightly tailor this treatment for you. So in a case like that, you're looking at medium or low setting and just kind of play it out and see how they're feeling with each session to see if you want to continue or not. And even then, the sensitivity would be more in a way of zingers. It would not be like a constant pain.
Great tip. And that makes so much sense. Well, Sam, this is so great. Can you think of anything else you want to touch on? Or I feel like this was a pretty jam-packed episode.
Stay tuned. I know we have plans for new accelerators coming out in the future as well as whitening kits. So we're very excited about this. So
That's amazing.
space.
So let's just remind the listeners. So Beyond is the manufacturer, but you do also sell direct. So if we have listeners that, depending on where they are in the world, would the best case scenario to be jump on your website, look for a dealer in their local area? Or do you find that it typically does depend on really the location on if they have to go direct with you or direct with a local dealer?
Yes. When it comes to direct sales, that's more for the United States. Like specifically in Texas, for example, it's just easier that way. But we do have distributed partners throughout the world. So anyone that has any questions about products, they can always send a quick email directly to us, or they can just search for our product in their market, and they should be able to see our product in their market. And if not, again, just send us an email and we'll put them in the right place for them.
Oh, so good. Okay, perfect. So I know every single tech listening is going to jump on the website right now and start looking. But Sam, thank you so much again for doing this. And what about social media, or is the best thing for us to just tag the website? Where should our listeners follow along for the Beyond journey?
You can definitely find our website. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on all the social media feeds. So yes, you can find us just about everywhere. And I do know on YouTube, we also have our own series of videos where you can see more information about products, best practices, things like this.
Perfect. So they can go and watch their little hearts out.
Exactly right.
Well, thanks so much, Sam. And those of you who are listening, thanks for listening to another episode of Whitening Wednesday.